Cool. So we're going to start out. Oops. We're going to start out with making a jeweled ring model. Now, like I said, the parameters for this project is you can use any form of the pipe, sweep, or loft tool to create your ring. You can most certainly add to it. It will have a jewel element to it. You can add plenty more if you like. You can make it as ridiculously scaled as you like. You could basically make it a like ring pop if you want. Does not matter. This will be a lead into running printing with the SLA printers, but I'm going to go over that in a few. What I wanted to go over real quick is explaining the loft, or sorry, the pipe, sweep, and loft tools just as simply as a starting point. So let me move over here. I don't know if you can really get this in on the screen. Yeah, that's pretty much useless. I'm going to go over this again in Fusion, but just for the sake of stuff here, the variety is you have several different methods for creating three-dimensional forms around a common line type. What that means is a line. It could be a line, remember, it can be, yes, a straight line or any multiple set of continuous line points. You could use a fit point spline, which is making curved points or a curve along the set of points, or you can use preset lines like, circle, square, whatever have you. The main difference on each of these is how it creates the shape around that line. We have a pipe tool. It is essentially a three-dimensional offset tool with a preset set of options. So you draw a line. A pipe tool literally makes a circle in 3 dimensions around that pipe. Now, it technically doesn't expand beyond the length of the original line, but if your original line is a circle, it's just going to build outward and kind of make like a donut around that shape. Now you have 3 options with 1+. You can make it round, and then you can set the diameter. You can make it square, and it will be square, not rectangular. So if it is a line around, you make it a 2 millimeter round, it's going to make the thing 2 millimeter offset in around that line. If it's square, it will be a square line through that. They also have a triangle shape. The other option is you could make it hollow. So like a pipe. Often these are used for either creating or rigging up like if you're making something like of tubular construction. Think of like a metal chair or like a roll cage around a crawling car, a race car, something like that. You can draw the framework in 3 dimensions, so it's not just on a flat sketch plane. You can push and pull that around 3 dimensions as well, although it takes a little more manipulation, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about it. But then you can use the pipe tool and generate pipes around that, so you don't have to shift and move 3-dimensional rods or cylinders into place. This is a really convenient way of making 3-dimensional like cage forms or things like that. Or again, you look at tube frame chairs or something to that effect. Really convenient way of working. Or if you're really building anything that's kind of like out of tube stock or something. Easy way. The next over is sweep. Same idea, but instead of generating a frame around that pipe or around that line on some preset options of round, square, or triangle, you could take a custom sketch profile. So we're back to, you could make a rectangular if you want. You could make it square. You can make it ovoid. You could make an amorphous shape, and it will take that shape and drag it along the length of that line, whatever it is. So this is a really cool way of making basically an extruded object along a path. That's really the best way to describe that. Instead of whereas before we would take a sketch and extrude it just directly in one axial direction, this can take a sketch you've made and drag it along a curved path. It's a neat tool. Loft is the same thing as a sweep, essentially, only it is using more than one sketch. Now, you can use 2 sketch profiles, or you could use a whole slew of them along a path. And what it will do is create a transition from one to the next. So you could have a circle on one end and a square on the other. And as it moves and basically creates kind of like a sweep along that path, it's going to transition from one shape to the other. So this is, in a simple term, like what we're going to be doing here. You're making like something like a ring. It could be ovoid and go to square, something like that. So you'll make a transition between those two. Okay, simple. That's fine. But this is also taking sweeps to a much higher use. This is how, think of like how a boat hull looks. If you've ever seen like all the ribs of a boat hull as they stretch wood around that, I know, because totally everybody's been to boat making school, right? But you see all of those cross sections, all of those ribs, all those U shapes, and as you move along the shape, it'll go from, if you're looking at the bow, the front starts as a point, starts to sweep outward. I know I'm using similar terms. Curve outward along each of those ribs and ends at the flat back, or unless it keeps going as a point. That's essentially how a loft can create more complex shapes. So it is for making more complex shape based off of a series of profile sketches. So instead of just the amorphous term, let's actually look at Fusion here. Let me hop over to Fusion. All right, this is the point. The problem of juggling the screens and such. There we go. Okay. So explaining more of the pipe, sweep, and loft tool. So essentially, I've already set this up. You can look at it. This is just playing with these different tools, showing different examples. So a pipe tool would essentially just be, and all of these really in this example are basing at least on one common sketch, your profile. Oh, sorry, not your profile, your common line. The line is going to sweep along. This is just a fit point spline. That's all. Created as one sketch on the XZ axis. I'm going to use the pipe tool, and as you mouse over, pipe tool, there you go, creates a solid pipe that follows that along a selected path. Pretty straightforward. Unhide that, and it just creates, there you go. It's a rounded shape, and you can see how it starts and stops relative to the curvature of that path also. So this path, this sketch immediately curves downward. If I wanted it to stay flat, you would want to kind of keep that sketch a little bit more straight and maybe add some more points along that fit point spline path. Same thing here. It's going to follow along, and it's just going to stop there relative to the curvature of the path. If you want it to be a straight line, it would be a straight pipe. You can of course play with the options here, bring up the edit feature tool. So again, you can make this circular, you have square, and you can see it turns it into a square object. Triangular, there you go. Why would you use a triangular shape? This is really handy for creating an object to cut away from other objects. So this is actually, you can actually use triangular pipes generated like around an object to make like custom screws or something like that. Actually, the same thing, you could do the same with like circular tools and using a coil tool over here. Not going to get into this right now, but if you wanted to make like custom threads, like if you want to make a cap for like a ball jar or something like that, you know, the mason jars, that doesn't use a common size thread. You can create, you would use this tool to generate custom threads or something. That's what one of the ways you can use this, and that's why you would have even the option for circular. Same thing goes, you can make it hollow. You can determine the thickness, wall thickness. So if you are trying to accurately model something that is designed and built out of tubular steel, there you go. Makes sense. Okay, next one, same idea as a pipe, but the sweep is using a custom shape. I'm just going to activate the whole project here. In this case, I have created a sketch flat along that path. Now this is flat along. I will warn you that you actually will ideally want to angle the angle the degree of your profile as best you can to be 90 degrees to the end of your sketch line. So if you're making a curved sketch, it is very much best to curve or angle that sketch. I'll show you how to do that very simply. But in this case, I just made it a flat one. Sweep. Now I've made a custom sketch, and to show custom here, in the sketch, I just made like a little notch in it just to show you how that can follow along. As I rotate around, you can see that that sketch now has, or that sweep has taken that custom sketch and drug it along that profile line. Neat thing about sweep is you can also play with tapers and twists. So with this, yep, it's going to be a consistent shape all along that path, unless you play with the taper angle. Let's add 5 to it. It's going the wrong way. -5 flares outward. Just like extrude before. Might be too large. We'll go with 1. Fine, just 1. What, now you're not going to let me do this at all? Or did you just freeze? We'll put a 1 degree taper on it. See if we get the error. Really? All right, well, essentially, think of it in this, and we'll do 0.1 then. Oh, 0.1 works. Too much. Come on. All right, it's hard to see. Essentially, I was just trying to show you that you can flare that. You can flare that object. The issue being, the longer your path is, the more it's going to taper, and at some point, it's going to get to be way too much. So you can experiment with that, but yeah. So even a regular 1 degree taper. All right, great, fine. The other thing is you can actually get it to twist along a path. So this is a really convenient way of, if you're thinking about making a ring or something like that, neat way to create like a twisted shape. So we'll just put 180 in there. So around a diagonal or around a circle, think of it in those terms. Problem is this is an oval, and you can see how much that is twisted already. Obviously, something like 360. 1 complete turn, see how much rotation you get out of that. Keep going, something like 720. Now you're really getting into twists and such. So you can create some really neat shapes by just playing with the features built into these. So I'm gonna cancel that. There you go. All right, last one I'm gonna show you is a loft. Same deal, only in this case, I went from taking the same shape, that oval with or that ellipse with a notch in it, and my second sketch built onto the other end of the fit point spline here, my path, is a rectangle, and you can see how it transitions, as Loft tool says, transitions between one to the other. So you can take that, obviously, circle to square. There you go. The optional rails are exactly what we're using. Is that center line is our sketch. All right. Same deal though, but you can see the transition points there. It's pretty neat. Goes directly from square, sweeps upward, and becomes a oval. Same deal. You can play around with the edit features here. Only with a sweep, you have far fewer controls because not a sweep. With a loft, you have far fewer controls because ideally the reason you're using a loft is because you are going between very distinct profile shapes. You're not relying on the tool, the generated tool. You are trying to make something very distinct. So the real differences between all of these, they all base around the same kind of ideas. But a pipe tool, standard shape, based on either circle, square, or triangle. A sweep, custom profile, and you can play a lot with how that profile sketch moves along your sketch line, along your path. Loft, you have a lot more control over the transition shapes between two or more sketch profiles, and you can add even more. You have a lot of control with that, but you have to make the sketches yourself. So if you just want to kind of transition from one to the other, just make sketches on either end. There you go. So really neat features to play with. So the next thing is, let's talk about the actual jeweled ring. So here, finished example. Like I said, kind of getting a little bit on like the ring pop style here. That is a significant ring or jewel on top of a ring there. So there you go. But one of the things I want to show on this example is this used a loft tool to create the two halves. So you can see as I mouse over, one half is a loft going from a more rounded rectangular shape to a much smaller ovoid shape, and then you just mirror the two together. The jewel, and let me pop to assign colors so you can see things a little more clearly, is made up of a multitude of facets, and the setting is just kind of generated, just playing around, kind of looks the part. It's a little bit large. So you can scale these to whatever size you want. There you go. Real quick, if you want to get a size to start with for your ring, let me hop off of share here and I'll show you. We have some tools here which are called calipers. If you've never seen one of these, this is a tool that, in this case, a digital readout, has these teeth, these jaws, for taking outside and inside measurements on rounded objects. As you see, as I open this, the jaws open up. It's flat on the inside on this side and flat on the outside on the other little side here. So it's got these little tines. The idea being that the big jaws clamp around things. The little jaws are, when they're really tiny, you can fit that right in between stuff. So if you're trying to take an inside measurement. And these are digital readouts, which switch between metric and imperial. Sorry, I was trying to think of the word, but not fractional, decimal. God, there we are. I could not think of the word decimal. Sorry. So you have those options. These are not jewelry ring sizes, but if you want to take measurements of, like, say, a finger or a wrist, open up the jaws, take your measurement. All right, apparently my roughly there is about 62.9 millimeters wide and 47.2 millimeters tall. Or if it's a ring, you're probably gonna be making something a circle. Index finger, 19.8 millimeters. I will warn you, if you are planning on using pipe, sweep, or loft tools to create your form, you might need to make some adjustments, because if you make a circle that is exactly that size, remember that any of these expand around that line in all directions. So if you use a pipe tool around a 20 millimeter ring size or diameter size, and make it 2 millimeters wide, it's going to go 2 on the inside, or sorry, it's going to go 1 on the inside, 1 on the outside. So you're going to shrink the diameter of your circle essentially by 2 millimeters. So play with it. You might have to scale that stuff up. So if you're intending to make this actually wearable, take some dimensions, and I'll show you how to just kind of make a reference box around that. But we have these in the classroom on our shelf. Right now, I'm only finding 2, but we have plenty more. You can always resize this, resize your design later. That's the beauty of, again, working with these tools rather than modeling it directly. You can very easily just size it up and everything will recalculate. All right. So to begin, we'll just get a brief start and then we'll play around. All right, so first things first, save. In class. All righty, I'm going to start there. Now, I have examples here. Wow, apparently I titled it Whack Through, whatever. I have several options here in the example slides or in the example file here. Different ones of making with a loft, a sweep, and a pipe tool. So just for reference, like I said, pipe ring, don't make just one pipe. But what we could do is play with offsetting them and making variations and then linking them all together. So you can make like this kind of like knotted ring design. That's a cool one. Sweep. Yeah, you just have the one profile, so that's kind of like a really basic ring. There you go. Loft allows you to make something a little bit more involved, but still like a smooth transition, that sort of thing. And you can always add to this. The setting we're going to play with, I'll show you how to just kind of make a basic design for that, and you can build from there. That's pretty much the start. All right. So I'll get us started, and then we're going to take a quick break. So to begin, I'm not going to put my immediate dimensions into any components because I want to keep that outside and still be able to refer to them back and forth. So first things first, like I said, I'm going to take a measurement off of apparently my ring finger, which is rotating around more or less 20 millimeters. Sure, that's about right. All right, so I'm going to start a sketch. In this case, I'm going to use the XZ axis. I'm going to work straight in the center. 20 millimeters. That's the little. I'm going to turn that initial one into a construction line. All right. So like I said, depending on how big you want to make this, you might want to scale this up. So in this case, say I make this about 2 millimeters wide, I would probably expect to make this at least 22. Probably go larger than that. You play around with this. For this project's sake, or for demonstration's sake, I'm just going to make this a bit larger. Let's say 30. All right, there you go. Big enough. Okay, finish sketch. You have your ring stuffs. We're going to build all of that. Let's play around. So let's say I want to create just a basic pipe tool. I go up here, pipe, select that object, and you see how it generates off of there. I can expand outward, make it a donut ring, but immediately you can see how much larger that suddenly becomes. Let's just say even just a 10 millimeter ring. That 10 millimeter pipe now has a internal diameter of my original 20 millimeters. So be careful. Maybe break out the notepad, do some basic math to create these. But obviously, that's a pretty serious ring. You wouldn't even be able to like put it over your finger. So let's make that a lot smaller, more like 5, just for this sake, or even smaller, 2. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to start playing with this by taking the object, create a new ring in here. And let's see here. New one, new component. We'll do this one as pipe ring. All right. So got my basic body. It's made out of that one thing. Again, the reason I use the sketches outside of that is because it's out here. It's beyond the original sketch or the original project, so I can share that between other components, other bodies, other components. Don't really need to deal with it right now, though. Okay. So I've got that one ring. Well, I said you can't make just a simple ring, but we can play with this. So take this single one. Let's copy and paste, make a new one. Come on, buddy. Where are you? There we go. Oh, helps if I hit Control V. Now the problem is it just plopped that right in the center there, or it plopped my center rotation way off. So what I want to do is I want to set my pivot point right in the center. So go over to the move copy pivot point right in the center, deselect, there we go. Now this is already a copy, so we're good. Oh, it dropped it out there. I'll have to move it in. I'll have to drag and drop it in. That's all right. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate my copy a couple degrees a few times. So -10, great. Now I messed up. I didn't have the component activated, so drag and drop the second body into project. There we go. And I'm going to activate the pipe ring. Okay, cool. Same. Select center one again. Copy paste. Ugh, keeps dropping my center point down at the bottom. What did it select? Okay. Oh, I might have accidentally selected the, yeah, I did. Selected the other one. So that's all right. I'll just make sure instead of just rotating a little bit, 10 degrees. There we go. You can start to see where I'm going with this now. Okay, making multiples. Nice. Do it again. Copy paste. Ugh, God, keeps dropping it in the center or not in the center. That is frustrating. There we go. This time I'm going to go above and rotate it 10 degrees on the Z axis. All right. One more time. Copy paste. Well, it was already copied, so I didn't have to do that. Pivot point there. Looking at the top. Rotate that one 10 degrees that way. Now, kind of like a balloon animal kind of thing going here. But yeah, it's a variety of different circles and such. But really cool way of making a slightly more complex ring just out of the pipe tool. So that's one option. Finally, what you would do is combine all of them together. Brings it into one. There you go. Now you got a linked. Now you got a linked guy right there. Neato. All right. Save. Pipe ring. Okay. And ultimately, if you want to go back and shrink that, activate everything, go back to that original pipe tool, edit feature, make that, I don't know, should have been 1 millimeter big. There you go. Let it recalculate. Now you got a finer lattice work. So neat way to add some stuff to it. And this is basically how we're going to go for a couple of examples here. Yeah. Size. Okay. All right. So let's take a quick break and we'll do some more work. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so that's the a different a method for using the pipe tool. So that totally works. Making multiple pipes, join them together. And I'm going to show you how to create like a setting and such. All right. Another option would be making a sweep or using a sweep. So I'll start a new component right there. Activate it. Yeah, sure. That's fine. Let me hide the pipe tool. All right. So I do want to make use of, for this case, I'm going to make use of the original circle just for the sake of showing y'all how to continue to do that. So I can see that circle. That's great. But because it's a circle, I don't have to worry about creating like a different angle for my custom profile. But I do want that profile to be at the end of my line. Now, yes, it's a circle, so smart ass go. So what I would need to do in this case is, yeah, I can create a point, or I can just create a profile on that circle. That's fine. There is construction on construction planes. You can do at an angle at a plane. Usually, just what we've been working with offset plane, which is just taking a predetermined plane off of your origin points. You know, the XY, XZ, YZ, that sort, and moving forward off of that. You can do tangent planes, midpoints, all that sort of thing. We're going to talk about these here in a few. But what we want here is plane along a path. So in this case, it's a circle. So I might have to cut this plane in half and then make mirrored versions, but that's okay. But if you were using like the example here, if you're making a partial half and it doesn't end at the actual axis, so like down here, if I wanted that to create a path or a profile for my path that does not end on a major axis line, I can use, path along a plane. So what it does is you pick a path, in this case a circle, and then you can just move that plane along that path. So this being a circle, yeah, it kind of doesn't really matter. So in this case, I don't know why I didn't start at 0. That's fairly frustrating. So let's move that up to 0.75. Neat. This works on. Oh, what's up?
The screen.
Oh, am I not on the right screen? Jeez.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me know. I would have continued. I apologize. Okay, let me cancel that. Let me say that. Sorry about that. So all I've done was I just started a new component with a sweep ring. There we go. My sketch is still the original sketch out here. Thank you for catching that. So under construction planes, so far we've just talked about just using the original offset planes we've used before. There's planes at angles, tangent planes, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to show you how to use the 3-point or plane through 3 points in a little bit. But the last one down on the first section is plane along a path. So selecting that, my path is a circle, so that kind of causes a problem. It's kind of like, go stand in the corner of a round room kind of thing. So it's a circle, 360 degrees. Distance is you are dragging this along a path. So if this were a half circle, it would be straight up, straight down. There you go. But you see the distance is from 0 to 1. So 1 is all the way around, which in this case, it is on the x-axis. That actually helps me quite a lot because I want to use, if I want to be vertical, in this case I do, so along the x-axis, or z-axis, sorry. So 45 degrees straight up, not really, but you're working with quarters. So if what is 1/4 of 1, 0.75. Or sorry, that's 3/4. So 1/4 minus. So 0.75, there you go. Straight up and down. Other side would be 0.5, straight down would be 0.25. So in this case, 0.75. There we are. Okay. And if this were a curved line, hit OK. And just for the sake of that conversation, I'm just going to make a sketch. Sure, fine. Blah, blah, blah. Fit point spline. Doesn't really matter. Just drawing something. There you go. Finish sketch. So just looking at that line there, if I go to construction plane, path, plane along a path, select that path. Now you can see how it starts at somewhere in the middle. I don't know why, but 0 is all the way to one side. 1 is all the way to the other. But look at how it is aligned. It is aligned perpendicular, 90 degrees perpendicular to that edge. So like I said, when we were talking about the line here, you want to try to align that edge or align your sketch to actually be perpendicular to your sketch. There you go. That's how you can do it. Sketch along a path. Really convenient tool. All right. So let me hide that one. That's irritating. And hide my construction plane. That one is that one. Okay, great. Okay, so to create my ring on this path, now I can create a sketch on my path. I don't know why it rotated. That was weird. Now, I will say it is a little awkward finding that point. So there we go. It is smack in the middle. It's just kind of a little awkward when you're looking at something orthogonally straight on. Obviously, you can't really see the very top of a circle very easily. But you zoom in a bit, you can see the difference between the black line and the red line there. That helps. All right, so just like I did in the example, let's start with an ellipse. So I'm going to zoom in, let my snap grab right there. And yeah, we'll start with an ellipse. Whoa, I'm zoomed way in, so doing some weird stuff. All right, so let's say the first one is, I don't know, 6 millimeters wide. Neat. There you go. Up, I don't know, 3. Sure, that works. And like you saw, I can play with some details here. So I don't know, let's make some notches on this. Right in the center, I don't know, let's make that 0.5. If I want to make multiple notches on here, I could use my pattern tool. Oh, where did my pattern tool? They only let me use, oh, that's strange. Oh, okay, never mind. I was going to try to make multiple lines here using the pattern along a path, but apparently that is not a sketch option. It's only an object option. Well, that's frustrating. Whatever. Okay. I'll just make a couple here and we'll say same, 0.5, do the same. I don't know, something like that. 0.5, neato. I will copy these using the mirror tool, and we'll use that point. No, there's not a line there. So I have to draw a line, something like that. Great. Turn that out construction line. I just drew a line straight up and down. Press X to turn into a construction line, or press the construction line tool there. There we go. Oops, I didn't want to finish sketch. Go back in. Why does it rotate that? That is very confusing. Sometimes it does it. I still don't know why. Using the mirror tool, gonna copy those two. Boop, there we go. Just on the other side. Okay. Only reason I was doing that, just to play with it. Okay, finish sketch. Go back out, and now we'll use the sweep tool. Same deal, just along the path. Select that profile. It has those little notches, and select my path. Is that? And there you go. I've basically made a tire. But like I said, you can play with like twist angles, stuff like that. Let's say I want to do the whole 720 twist again. Ooh, made like a Mobius strip there. Keep going. I don't know. 1,000. I've confused it. Oh, it only goes up to. It's only 3 digits. I forget what the next one is. 720. So that's 980. Cannot sweep. Oh, has to be an even one. All right, so 720 it is. All right, so make a smaller one, and you can make multiple twists. All right. So just playing around with that. That looks like an incredibly uncomfortable ring, but that could be a pretty neat bracelet. So, okay. Make it larger and be a cool bracelet. All right. So that's how you'd make something using a sweep. All right. Last one is using the Loft tools. Oops, I nested that. I accidentally had the component active. I should have had the full project active. Now make a new component, Loft ring. Okay, collapse that again. Same deal. I would like to sketch along a path, which in this case, really, it's unnecessary, but same deal here. So let's first make a construction plane along a path. Same. And 0.75. All right. So in this case, it's just straight up and down, so it doesn't matter. But again, if you were making this out of a couple of halves, something like that, that'd work. So for the sake of that, and so I can show you how this works, oh no, I can use that same path. Never mind. Doesn't worry. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to create a new sketch on that construction plane, which is the same, so kind of irrelevant, but that's okay. All right. It keeps rotating. It's very confusing. So in this case, I'm going to use a rectangle to a more circular item. So I'm going to start at the top. My little X pops up when it's an intersection. There we go. Let's make this a little bit larger. I don't know. Let's make this gaudy as can be. 10 millimeters wide by 2 millimeters deep. Neat. All right. Now we do want to make this a little bit curved, so this isn't wildly out of the range. Or let's leave the top. Yeah, let's leave the top flat. So I'm just going to put a couple of fillets here. Yeah, sure, 1 millimeter. Don't hit enter and select the other ones, and it'll link them all. There you go. Now I hit enter. All good. And because they're linked, if I want to go back and change that, instead of 1, double click on the dimension, say 2 millimeter 2 millimeter fillet. Now it changes both of them. Neato. All right, and I want to add one more. Let's use another ellipse down here at the bottom. Careful that it's not dragging along. See, I've broken that plane. Gets a little screwy. So let's just make sure we're snapping just right there. Zoom in. Yep. Nice. All right. First number. I don't know. 2. Ooh, that must be zoomed way in. All right, and go up. I don't know, 1. Great. Doesn't look like a very comfortable shape. But all right, I have 2 profiles to work with. All right, finish sketch. Now I'm going to use the Loft tool, which isn't already automatically up here, but go to create, Loft, as you can see, mouse over, creates a transitional shape between two or more sketch profiles. I got two profiles. Loft tool. Now, right now it doesn't matter as much, but it is very important when using the Loft tool to select your sketch profiles in order for how you want the Loft to operate. Now, we're only working with two, so it doesn't really matter. But if you had three or more, it is extremely important that you select in order. So if you're starting from like a small base, it flares to a larger thing and goes to an even larger thing, you need to select 1, 2, 3. You cannot jump around because it generates the Loft from sketch profile to sketch profile to sketch profile. All right, so us just having two doesn't matter. Select the first one, select the bottom one. Now it's going to give you an error because it's trying to draw a direct line between them because the default setting is just on rails, which is it just creates those rails depending on the profiles. I need it to travel along a center line. So go down here, select center line, selecting my circle. There you go. Now it curves that Loft out and around. And you can see that sketch is way off because I accidentally selected the point instead of profile. So might have to fix that. Yeah. So let's delete that one and make sure that I grab the actual profile, not just the point. Done it twice now. There we go. Much more sensible. All right. So that's would be half of my ring. All right. Simple thing there now. Now I just create a mirror of that object. My mirror plane is an origin plane. Just creates a copy. And if you want to go ahead and go with it, operation automatically join creates a closed ring. So just the one. So there you go. Those are some pretty simple ways to make some pretty interesting different types of ring or bracelet shapes. So let's save there. Loft ring. All righty. So super duper, we've made some ring shapes. You can obviously play around with that plenty. You can add to this. You are not required to only use these shapes. You can absolutely add to it. So like if I wanted to make like up here, create like kind of a larger platform or something. Yeah, I could do like build something up top here. So I'd make a construction plane. Nope, not that one. I want it to be off of the base. There you go. And move that plane up to the top. There we go. And then I could say like, create a sketch right there. And I don't know, let's add some more doodaddery here. And I'm just making like an ellipse shape or something. There you go. Sure, fine, whatever. And I can extrude that. Let's say two sides. Down one. I do not want it to cut. I want to join. And then up, I don't know, a little bit. So there you go. So you can easily make like a platform there and I don't know, fillet that thing, whatever have you. You get where I'm going with that. I don't know, 2mm fillet. That might be too much. Yep, too much. Make it a 1 so it doesn't overhang. Still too much. That is ridiculous. There you go. You get the idea. Okay. Adding a platform. Form, not plat frog. Okay. So those are the three different options for ways to make a ring. Let's make a jewel. Pretty straightforward in doing this. I'm going to start with a construction plane just up top. So I'm going to leave this ring visible for the moment. So I reactivated the whole project. New construction plane. Off to that one. And I'm only doing this just to simplify things. You can build this however you please. I'm just moving this down so it's kind of relatively close to where the jewel would probably go. All right. So select there. I'm going to hide the other rings. All right. So I'm just left with that. So I'm going to create a sketch right here. on top, so it's already oriented how I want it, but you can make it anywhere on your project and then move it into place later. You could even use the joint tool to snap things in place. That's fine. But I'm just building it kind of sort of right there. Now, rather than create, as you can see here on the example, let me go back to the jewel. There we go. Bouncing around between objects here. So for this, I've created like this, just kind of, yeah, it totally looks like a ring pop gem. It does not look like unless you've got a really significant jewel, all you got is different facets, but it kind of sort of looks the part. So going back over here to create that base, that starting point, I'm going to go down to polygon. Now you have a couple of options. You have circumscribed and inscribed. Basically the difference being, and you can see here, circumscribed, meaning that the polygon is generated on the outside of the circle because this base is on a circle, and inscribed, which means the polygon is generated inside of the circle. That's all that means. And you can obviously read that for yourself. So in this case, I don't know, doesn't matter. I'll just say circumscribed. The only difference there is just that it offsets a little bit inside or outside. That's all. So since we're just kind of playing with general scale, in this case, doesn't matter. I'm going to go with circumscribed. I'm going to pick right in the center. Now, as I start, you can see as I draw outward, you have a couple of options, or you have multiple options here. You have your dimension, how large it gets, how large that circle gets based off the radius. You have a floating toolbar here that says 6. So right now it's a 6-sided hexagon, 6-sided polygon, and you also have that rotation bar. Right now, the rotation and diameter are both being played with just by moving the mouse around. I am not clicking on anything. It is very important when you're building using the polygon tool, do not hit enter until you are finished with mainly how many sides. To get over to the sides, I'm going to use press tab. And for this I need an even number, so I'm going to use 10. Ugh. And it went over and it gave me 10 instead. Instead, it gave me 10 millimeters. There we go. If you move your mouse at all, it snaps back over. That's very frustrating. Okay. And I don't know. We'll just say, I don't know, 15, because this is going to be a ridiculously large polygon. Also, it is very helpful to build this directly off of an axis. So leave it straight up and down, whichever version that ends up, but I would align it to a major axis. Just makes things a little more simple. Okay, there you go. Just need that polygon. Great. Finished sketch. Yeah, holy moly, I made a gargantuan thing. I might go back and fix that a little bit. That's a bit unreasonable in size. Let me shrink that. So the whole thing is, the reason I tell you do not hit enter until you get the number of sides you want, I can go back and change the dimension. So let's go back to, I don't know, 8 millimeters instead. But there's no option to create the change the number of sides. Those are just showing me some basic measurements. So I can shrink it back down, but I cannot change the number of sides. If you want to change the number of sides, you have to make a new one. That's all. Okay. Now, creating the actual jewel itself is all based around this initial extrusion, and then you can play around. So what you need to do first is make an initial extrusion, just a little bit up or down. It does not matter, but I'm just going to go with like 2. That's a little bit much. Say like 1 millimeter. There we go. Maybe even less, 0.5. I have to do this initial extrusion because I need 2 sets of points to work from. This makes sense in a moment. 1 extrusion. Okay. Oh, you know what? I realized I was not on the. What did I do here? Oh, I made the jewel outside of any object. Okay, there we go. I got confused. I just pressed Shift in to change colors just so I wasn't quite seeing what I was doing. That's why I got confused. All right, made that initial extrusion. Make another one. On top, oops, I don't know why that was selected. That top plane, extrude. I don't know. Let's go up like 5 millimeters. Where's my toolbox? Hidden underneath the zoom thing. Okay, yeah, join, that's fine. But taper angle, I want that to go in 42 degrees. So make sure you hit negative. Like I was saying, I'm just playing with the whole 42-degree angle because that's the common thing in jewel making. Maybe the distance needs to be less, so I don't know, make it 3. There you go. That's fine. There we are. So you can see where this starts to take shape. Okay. Do it again. Create the bottom. Why does it keep selecting that? That is very strange. I don't know. We'll drag it down again. Negative 42. You can use whatever angle you want, honestly. I'm just playing with that just to show you. All right. So you cannot go to a point just yet, because otherwise everything will go to a point. You could do this afterwards, but so right now, 9 millimeters, not going to work. Let's go back to 8, just because I'm using whole numbers, because I need these points in between the edge. I can't have it all go to one point. Join is fine. All right, there you go. Let me hide that sketch because that's just in the way. All right. So now I have the basic facets here. However, I want it to have these fancier ones. So this is where the sketch through 3 points, or sorry, construction plane through 3 points comes in. So I'm going to hit save just for reference so you can look back at this. Jewel extrude. Okay. So now, in order to create these facets, a really easy way to do this is I need something to chop up corners. This is just, I'm not going to get into like the trigonometry of this because I don't remember any of it. So I'm letting the computer do it. But what I want is plane through 3 points, not 2, 3 points. And either way, it's between 2 edges. So plane through 3 points. Now, what you want to do, it kind of doesn't matter which way you go with this, but I'm selecting 1 point at the bottom or at the top, and then 2 points on the opposite. So meaning if I had selected 1 point up here, I'd be selecting 2 points down here. But because I selected 1 down here, 2 at the top. There you go. See how it's isolated that just that little corner section? Okay. It keeps putting my thing between there. Okay, there's my vertices. All right. You can see how that's functioning now. Now I'm going to go to split body. I want to split the jewel. My splitting tool is the plane. And now chop that off. Now I've created multiple bodies here. Hide the little chunk. Now you see how that one facet is created. Now I can use the circle pattern tool to repeat that facet. But first, let's go ahead and finish the bottom, because I'm going to use the tool not to create one single plane, but I'm going to do it all the way around. All right, same deal, construction plane through 3 points. And let's go just to make a match there. And so 1 point in the center, 2 points at the bottom. Try to keep them both in the screen at the same time because it's easy to get confused where you are. There you go. So I'm just going to end up chopping off that little sliver there. Okay. Same thing. Split body. That one. Splitting tool is my plane. Chops it off. Hide that one again. There we go. Now I'm starting with my facets. Let me hide those construction planes so I can see what I'm doing. There we are. Now I'm going to use the circle pattern tool. I'm going to select object type. I want faces. I want to copy that face and that face around an axis, which my origin is hidden at the moment. So if you have trouble seeing it, oh, it's actually below me. Want the Z-axis? There you go. Now it's creating multiples, but it's uneven. It's doing it in 3. I need, I think in 5. Yeah, there's 10. So there's 10. We created I forget what the term for a 10-sided polygon is. Either way, so we need 5 times. make it match up. There you go. So this is why it's easier to do whole numbers in this case, because you can just divide it in half. So you can see how that's working. Hit OK. There you go. Now you have the much more faceted form. So you're just adding facets. If you want, you could keep going. You could keep chopping parts off and really make some weird stuff. But that's the easiest way to do this. If you still want to bring this bottom to a point, now you can extrude that bottom, and we'll keep with the we'll keep with the -42, and now just drag it downward until it makes a point. Now, it kind of makes a funky thing there, so it's up to you. But just know that you don't have to bring that down to a point. It's just there as an option. Okay. So that is a way to make an extra faceted jewel shape. Now, again, you can play around with however you want. There's ovoid shaped jewels, there's hexagons, there's many more agons. I can't remember. I can't remember the shape names, whatever. But that's the basic way where you can add more facets to it. It's a neat little trick, but it's just making use of the 3 point or the plane through 3 points. That's all. All right. So save there. Jewel facets made, not mode, made. All right. So at this point, now we need to make some kind of a setting for this Giganto ring. I don't know, whichever one you want to play with. Let's unhide the the pipe ring. Whew, that is a big jewel. So in this case, if you want, you can most certainly put this into another component. I think I might. I'm just going to make a new component here and just say, oops, jewel. And I want to copy and paste that thing. So I'm going to make a second version. There we go. Yep, plop it in so that I can just hide the original. And now I can resize this new version and move it around however I need to. That's all. I'm just putting it in a new component for the time being. I am going to ask you to keep your objects separate in different components just for the sake of the project, but for printing, you want to join them. Don't worry about it right now. Okay, let's move this into a kind of sort of position. Select the jewel body. Let's move it. I don't know why it keeps creating the points way out there. Doesn't really matter. I'm just moving it upward, so whatever. So just kind of moving it to the top of the ring shape. Okay. So you can select whatever object you want to work with, or if you just want to kind of make a setting kind of thing and play with it from there, that's fine. I'm going to scale that down because that is gigantic. I always forget where scale is. There it is. Let's shrink that by like half. So remember that the scale tool works off of a numeral or off of 0 to 1, or essentially it's like 0 to 100%. 100% is as big as it is. If you want to make it bigger, larger than 2 or larger than 1. If you want to make it smaller, it's less than 1. Oops, made 2.5, not 0.5. There we go. So half of that, that's a more reasonable size. Okay. Alrighty. Only the problem is now, for some reason, it is off center. That's irritating. Huh. All right, well, move it. I have no idea how it got off center. That is really frustrating. Jeez, that is okay. Yeah, sure, whatever. I'm just trying to guess at how far over. All right, 2.5 is a pretty decent guess. It's not exactly the center, but close enough. You can move it to points too, but that's mildly maddening. Oh, that is all out of whack. Jeez. Okay, yeah, sure. What? I guess when it scaled, it wasn't. I don't know. That's really weird. Ugh. I'm just guessing at points again to just get it as close as I can to the center. There we are. All right. So maybe resize beforehand. I don't know. That's going to work. Okay. All right. Center enough. Okay, I'm going to create the setting and a separate component again, just to help for the model and such. You can create it within, you don't have to keep this separate. I'm just making these separate components for ease of visibility. So I'm just going to make a new component, setting. Okay. So choose whatever ring you want to build this off of. This can certainly be integrated. In this case, maybe I'll use the Loft ring. That could be built right on there. That's fine. But I'm going to let's use the pipe one. That's kind of there. So you can see it ghosted. That's fine. So a setting for a ring is, look, it's really in a lot of versions, it's just some really tiny little barbs that get bent over. So you could go as simple or as ornate as you want. This one I modeled before kind of has like a is kind of like a crown shape, or it can be a very simple thing. So in this case, I'll quickly show you a couple different versions. So if I wanted to make this more of like a straight on little barb, you can use the tools to just duplicate something right off, and you don't have to model something directly. So what I mean by that is I've got my setting component active. I'm going to start a sketch on the XZ plane. Working from the back for some reason. And what I can do is I can project lines off of my ring and use that. So I'm going to press P for project, or you bring it up under the drop down, create and project include. There you go. Yep, geometry, that works. And I just want to select a couple of edges here. Or if you want, select the whole body and it'll just give you the outside. That actually works better. Okay. I'm going to hide the jewel just so you can see what I'm isolating. I just want that outside shape. Ah, cool. Superman design. Nice. So with this, I could just select stuff and just, heck, I could even use like the offset line or the offset tool and just make a line that's larger than that and then trim stuff off. That actually works pretty nicely. Negative 0.5 just to keep it, just to keep it a numeric, because that just needs to happen in my brain. Oops, what did I do? Yeah, what happened? Weird. Okay, I selected the wrong thing. Okay, there we go. So I got a line. All right, now I can just like trim chunks of this off if I want. And what I mean by that is if I unhide the jewel, all right, I want something that's, just got little kind of like partial tines, just comes a little bit off of that line. Okay, cool. So let's make some lines. Just drawing somewhere on here, perpendicular there. Yep, that works. Actually, that works pretty well, just that. So I'm going to draw one more line at the bottom. I don't know, just something, just to close it off. Great. Because I just want to isolate, see as I highlight over there, I just want to isolate a section. All right, finished sketch. There we go. I'm going to extrude just that profile. Let's do it on both sides, so symmetric. I don't know, 1 millimeter across. So you see what I'm making here? Just this little tine here. Nice. Okay. Make that. And if you want to round this stuff off, cool. I don't know, fillet the sides, make it curved. Sure. I don't know, 1, that might be too big. Yep, because I'm working a lot smaller than I realize. I don't know, 0.1. There you go. Neato. Make it a little bit curvy. Okay. And now, let's unhide the jewel so I can see what I'm doing. I don't know, it's a 10-sided jewel, so let's make 5 of them. Circle pattern. Selecting, nope, not faces, I want the bodies. That whole thing. Axis, around the Z axis. Boom. Instant, simple little tines to go around. Hit OK. That kind of works. Granted, what's going on down here is kind of a nightmare, so not so much. So what I'd probably want to do is draw like a shape down here and just kind of give it like a base to work from. If I'm working off of this pipe tool or this pipe ring, obviously just design wise, I'd want to add a little bit to that just so it looks right. So what I would do is where are my construction line or my construction planes? Where's the one that is flat? Right about there. I don't know if any of those are, no, those are all for the jewels. Okay, so let's just make one. Construction plane, right off of there. Where's my, why is my thing way out there? That's weird. And I'm just dragging a plane up to kind of where the base of that thing is. Maybe a little bit higher. I don't know. So 18, where'd that go? Way big. I don't know. So 16. Yeah, that's pretty good. Or let's try to object, see if I can select something right there. So I just used to object selection and just picked a point kind of sort of at the base right there of where all of those come together. Cool. There we go. All right. And heck, I could even just use a cylinder here. Create a cylinder on that plane. And let's plop that right in the center. And I don't know, let's make that 3 millimeters out. Sure. And how big do we want to make that? For now, let's just use new body. And I just want something that's going to extend up enough to cover those bases. I don't like how that's looking at the bottom, but we'll play with that in a second. Okay. There you go. It's kind of sort of something like that. That's not terrible at all. I don't mind that. Okay. So if you want to say, if you wanted to clean this all up, ideally, yes, you would definitely want to extend this further. So let me unhide, or let me activate everything so you can see all the stuff. What I mean by that is looking down, I don't want to have this like big weird gobbledygook going down here. So what I should do is go back and activate just the setting thing, and I'm just gonna extend that cylinder a little bit. I'm gonna use the extrude tool and just drag it down a little bit so that it actually covers down to the base of that ring. Now it happened to cover all those little points. That's fine, but if it didn't, whatever. But see how it actually at least joins there? Yeah, that works. And heck, let's hit join. That should link everything. Bodies. Yeah, it did. Linked everything together. Cool. There's a really simple setting. Now, technically, this would overlap with things. And if you wanted to print this separate, one of the things you could do is, I mean, obviously you wouldn't print these separately because you wouldn't be able to get that jewel inside of there. But what you could do is do a combined cut. So what it did is this is all one section here now. Nice. It's all one little base with all those little tines there. I could use a combine tool and cut. I want to select, what is my target body? The whole little setting. My tool body would be the jewel, but I do want to keep the tools. Let's hit OK. And actually, it didn't do anything because it's all linked exactly where it wanted to be. Because I have everything linked against the actual tool, against the jewel itself. Let me hide that jewel. Oh, no, it did cut. So you see how it chopped into it a little bit, like the base now has this all these facets and everything. It's just a convenient way of if you wanted to join things together to where it actually, it would fit. But in all reality, didn't really even need to do that. But there you go. All right. So technically that would work. So let me unhide the jewel. There we go. So really simple, but that would actually work really well. Something like that. How we do it on time? Oh, it's 8 o'clock. Okay, cool. It's 8 o'clock. All right. So I can show you how to also do a more complex thing. But let's pause. Okay, so that's a simple setting. Again, we're not going into like jewelry versions and such as that. If you want to explore that, I highly recommend it just to give you some more ideas of like what a setting can be, that sort of thing. But you do have to have some kind of a setting to keep the jewel in place, regardless of how ridiculous it looks. That said, your version could even include like nested jewels that just have like little tines pushed over. That could work too, but I'd say if you're making like multiples. All right. So that's a really simple version. Let's make a more complex one, and let's just put it on, I don't know, just for grins, let's say like on top of the loft. Okay, so in this one, probably should have had that in a separate version. So tell you what, let me take that jewel, copy it, and plop it into there. Yep. That way, just trying to make sure that both of those fit correctly and you got all that stuff. All right, nice. That works super good. Setting. Okay. So now let's make another one and we'll call it setting. I don't know. Just a different version. Oops. You know what? Don't care. Caps lock is backwards. Doesn't matter. All right. So I'm gonna grab that jewel again and I'm gonna copy, paste it into there. Yep. Again, just helping myself keep things organized. All right. So if I'm gonna plop this onto the more involved or the like the loft ring here, you can see ghosted in. I need to move it around and such. So first off, let me, or you know what? We'll leave it there and we'll just kind of merge things together. Okay, cool. So what I might want to do is create something else. So you saw how I used a offset tool. Why don't we do something like that again and make it a little bit different? So I'm going to move this one up. And again, I'm just dragging it upwards a little bit. Hopefully it's not all wonky again this time. There we are. I'm just moving it upwards so it's in a better position. Okay. So again, I'm going to start with a sketch, excuse me, a sketch on the there. And I'm going to use the project tool again, just to give myself a reference using the same jewel, different place now. Cool. Hide that body. Great. Again, yeah, sure, why not? We'll start with an offset tool. Only this time it's letting me select individuals, so Nito Burrito. Let's change the selection. Let me just select all the things. There we go. All right, so negative 0.5 again, something like that. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's use -1. Real big. Cool. Okay. Now, the reason I'm doing that this time is because I want to actually split this and use the revolve tool to make something a little bit more involved. Cool. All right. So I need to split this. So let's use a line tool, just drawn straight through. There we go. I just want to bisect this. Nice. And sure, something again, kind of, sort of like there. Mousing over the projected line, I get close to the center. There we go. My center line, my constraint line pops up the triangle. Now I can go out perpendicular, center. Nice. Okay. Now you can of course continue to play with this if you wanted to add extra features. I don't know. I'm just going to throw something on here. Maybe we'll add an ellipse right there because I'm just going to round this out a little bit. I don't know. I'm just playing. Doesn't matter. Okay. See, just adding some stuff, trimming some chunks away. Cool. That probably makes things weirder. Whatever. Finished sketch. Got this kind of like, that looks like it's got a kneecap. I don't know. I'm going to use the revolve tool for just that profile. Select my axis. Ooh, that is a weird looking setting. It'll make sense in a minute, I hope. Okay, there we go. Where did my body come from? There we are. Wait, what is this? Oh, if you find that your that your project tree is starting to get too large, you might have to collapse a couple things. It just made the new body that was just further down the line. Okay, so the reason I built it like this is because I'm going to use extruded sketches to chop chunks away and reveal the setting that way. Like when we experimented with making the revolve planting vessel, and we projected shapes outwards to create holes in the sides. Same deal here. So, all right. And I'm getting things lost, so let's label the jewel. And I realize I have caps lock set, so just labeling things so I can keep things a little bit more set. Okay, same deal. Probably could have done the sketch in the same thing, but there we are. It doesn't matter. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'll use a circle. We'll use an ellipse again. That I like the kind of ovoid shape. There we are. I don't know, something down there, and let's make this a fair bit larger. We'll say 4. Okay, nice. Just using that as a shape. Hit OK. All right. Let's extrude that shape outward. Sure, it's going to go that way for some reason. Doesn't matter. Extent type, distance. Let's just go object. Use there. Chops out. Nah, that ain't going to work. I needed to go further. If I select the all, it's going to continue outward until it makes a complete hole. Cool. There we go. Ooh, that offset is that original extrusion or that revolve is kind of a little thick. I might need to go change that. Whatever. All right. I wanted it to cut all the way through. Great. Now when I unhide the jewel, now you see what I'm getting at here. Hide that again just for my own sake. And this time I'm going to use chamfer all the way around. Let's use a chamfer and let's try scrolling. The setting is too much. So let's try 1. All right. Too much. 0.5. Will that work? Nope. Not enough. 0.2. Come on, buddy. Oof. Still too much. All right. So apparently chamfer too much. Can't get a chamfer around all those corners. That's fine. Let's use a fillet then. Let's try that. 0.5. Still too much. 0.1. Wow. That is surprising. All right. So maybe the faces is not letting me work. So let's try using edges. Just gonna do a rounded shape on the edge. See what that does. Really? Not letting me fill it that entirely. That is very strange. Well, I guess it's not. It's just a complex shape, and I'm trying to do weird things to it. Huh. All right, fine. Be that way, jerk. Let's see here. I'm just trying to add features to this. That's all. Maybe we can do this in portions. Ooh. Oh, right. We're working very tiny. So that's chamfer. Okay, there you go. So yeah, it's just the fact that it's a really large or it's a really small form. So can always play and try to add more. I'm just isolating things, and that's letting me do the chamfer. So there you go. You see what happens there. That's all. And apparently that weird bump out I made. Apparently that's what's messing up everything. So whatever. Okay. So we got that feature in. Let's unhide the jewel. See what it looks like. Cool. All right. So in this case, hide the jewel again. We'll use circle pattern, and this time I do want to use features. So let's select all the inside. Let's make sure we're selecting those chamfers and such again. Okay. Around a radius, which is my z-axis. Making multiples. It already had 5 still selected. So sure, go for it. Hit OK. A bit more of a fancy but slightly more involved setting. So that's really all I'm playing with here. Unhide the jewel. Now you can see how, I definitely made it a little bit too thick, but some interesting ways you can play with fillets and chamfers and just the circle pattern tool to make repeating patterns. Because often enough in jewelry making, it's all about just picking a pattern and repeating that. Well, picking a design and repeating that until you make a pattern out of it. Again, I'm going to use the combine tool to cut away sections so they're not just clipping one another, but it's actually nested. So what that means is use a combine. My target body is the setting. My tool body is the jewel. Make sure that I select keep tools for the jewel, and it's a cut. So hit that. Now when I hide the jewel tool or the jewel object, see how it is copied and chopped away the facets into the setting there. And there you go. So all you would need to do now is merge designs together and you can make it work. So with that, that would be, all right, let me go ahead and make a new component. This, again, I'm making all these components just for you to refer back to. You do not need to keep these all in separate components, save for the ring plus setting and the jewel. But let's say loft, ring, and jewel. All right. So all that would be is I'm gonna copy and paste that over, the setting and jewel. And then let's go to the loft, ring, relabel these. Copy that. Make sure I have selected the component. Drop that in there as well. All righty. So now I can hide all those other things. And now it's just a different color because I've just made copies in. All right. So nothing is clipping through in weird ways. What I could do, I have my bodies there. There we go. Let's go ahead and join the ring with the setting. I do not want to cut. I want to join and do not keep tools this time. I want to join them together. Okay. Now it's one object, the ring and the jewel. So what I could do now to merge these two designs a little bit more effectively, now I can put a fillet in. Yeah, let's drag that out, see where that gets us. That's going to get kind of funky. You can sometimes go well beyond. There you go. There's a 1 millimeter fillet, and you get some really cool kind of weird stuff going on there. It actually extends past that the cutout. That looks neat, kind of. Let's try another fillet. I don't know, that edge. Yeah, it's gonna cause errors. I should have done that. I should have done other stuff there. Hit cancel. Tell you what, I'll show you some other stuff you can do with this. Neat thing about like all right, I used a loft tool to create this ring, all that. You can use edges as your pathways for things like the pipe, sweep, and loft tool as well. So say I wanted to, it would be really neat to have like a rounded edge on this. So looking at this ring, let's select the pipe tool, circular, all that. I'm going to select this edge here. Way too big. Let's make that much smaller, 0.5. Join. I can use that edge to create a pipe along that edge line. Neat feature. Neat way of working. You can do the same. Maybe I want to create around the ring itself. Oops, sorry, wrong way, zooming. Now you can only do one at a time. It won't let you select multiple paths, but you can see how I use the path along the edge of that line there. Same thing. So I can create multiples, and I'm just right-clicking to repeat. Repeat pipe, select that edge. Same. Orbit over, select that edge. Same. And last one, right there. So you can use the pipe tools and sweep for that matter along that. Now, I will warn you, because this is an odd edge, look what happened right here. Oops, geez. At the very top here, it created this little cavity. And that is because the pipe tool is merging at an angle. Remember that the pipe tool ends perpendicular to that line. So the way you'd have to fix this would be probably actually like extend something between there. So sometimes things can get a little wonky. That doesn't really work as well. And here you're good, but what you'd probably have to do is that can get weird. I'm not sure what you have to do for that. Probably patch holes and stuff. That's kind of getting weird. Likely what you could do is like just extend these faces, stuff like that. But anyway, just wanted to show you that you can, come on, let me out of that you can add features using the edge lines and such. Works a lot better like up here, that sort. So the last thing really is just put some color on this. Change back to color mode. grab an appearance. You can do whatever you want. It can be a concrete ring if you want. Remember, you just have to select something. Doesn't matter what it does not even have to be metal or anything. If you want it to be, yeah, sure. It could be you can make it gold if you want. Neat. But I don't know. You can put, oh yeah, right. I forgot. Cool. Forgot they added some more to the library. Let's make that titanium nitride. You know, in case you need to like cut your way out of a glass thing with your ring. I don't know. There are no jewel appearances, but you could just use glass. That works well. Smooth glass, whatever. Sure, we'll use red. Drop it on, plop. There you go. You still see the edges in there, but that's fine. That's not a problem. All right. So kind of a funky ring, but just experimenting with some things. So I encourage you to play. Those are a variety of different ways you can approach this ring or bracelet, whatever you want to build. If it's a bracelet or ring for that matter, remember it doesn't even have to be circular. It could be like an amorphous shape. If you're making something that's more like kind of like bangles or something for a bracelet, cool, do that. The only thing is it has to make use of either the pipe, sweep, or loft tool, or it could make use of all three, doesn't matter. Some combination has to have at least one jewel and some kind of setting for that. What that looks like, it's up to you. Jewel can be gigantic, it can be tiny. You can have 500 of the jewels on there. It's up to you. That might bog down your computer, but play around. It's a lot of this. It's a few new tools, but a lot of the same ones we've been using, just using different ways. So good luck with it. Hopefully works for you and doesn't fry out your computer. All right. There we go.